Jets defense. They've got to come out smoking, shut down the offense. Offensive statistics, look at the time of possession. For the Jets, again, just a dominant there. Total yardage, they control it there. But the big number there, 4 turnovers for the Jets, no turnovers for Dan Marino. The young man is doing a good job, and they've kept his game plan relatively simple to help him.
And the kick by Leahy. Second half underway. Fulton Walker had one big kickoff return in the first half. He's at the 10. And stumbles to the 27, and their flag's down. Penalty apparently against the Jets.
Now they'll mark it off against Miami. Some kind of illegal block on the play or illegal use of hands. And that's a good, perhaps a good omen for the Jets. Miami not penalized very often. Shula proud of the fact that his team goes on the field, does not make too many mistakes, rarely beat themselves, although they've done some of that this year. This has not been a great year for Shula's teams.
Illegal use of the hands. Number 76 on the return. First down.
Steve Clark, the man ticketed for the foul.
So Miami will start just across its 17-yard line. Impressive rookie Dan Marino. Andra Franklin caught in the backfield by Neal, and there's plenty of Jet support. Mel and Troy, Marty Lyons all in on the play.
Dolphins employing 2 tight ends sent Bruce Hardy, number 84, into the game, and Hardy, suffering from damaged ribs, was expected to block on the line, make some room for Franklin, missed his block, and that was one of the reasons that play was shut down so quickly.
Woody Bennett, number 34, late getting into the huddle to give the play to Dan Marino as Franklin comes out. Second down 11. Open is Joe Rose, who caught the touchdown just before the end of the first half. Rose short yardage out to about the 23-yard line, a 6-yard play. Other scores at the half. Steelers a big lead against the Browns. San Francisco trailing New Orleans 13-9 in the third. 21-10 San Diego's lead in the third quarter at New England. 20-7 the Vikings over the Oilers in the third quarter. Chicago scoring just before the half to cut Detroit's lead to 17-10. St. Louis has opened a big lead against Tampa Bay. And it's 14-7 now. Buffalo leading Baltimore in the battle for first place. Third, and that's that little shovel pass to Nathan. And Tony Nathan's all the way to the 42-yard line. So off the shotgun, one running play that has worked, and I guess the Cowboys were the first to use it effectively, that little shovel pass to the up back.
Boy, this play is a killer. Look at the little drop right in there, allowing Gastineau to come up inside. A great play as he just shifts inside and leaves Buttle laying on the ground away from Kenny Schroy there. Finally tackled on the far side by Marty Lyons and Jerry Holmes. But Nathan exploding on that play. That's the kind of versatility and explosion that Shula wants to see out of Tony Nathan.
Interestingly, Lyons tackling Nathan. They were teammates at Alabama. Nathan was in Marty Lyons' wedding. Close friends. Mark Gastineau, and there are very few quarterbacks that can stay ahead of Gastineau when he's tracking you down. And Marino showing he has more than just a strong arm. He has the presence of mind to get away from Gastineau and duck out of bounds.
Well, he's had some opportunities to get the explanation on that from Don Strock and also from Woodley, and they explained to him that you stay a lot healthier if you don't try and go head-to-head with those defensive players. You see there's no room, get yourself out of bounds.
Marino, a +5, touchdowns over interceptions. That last play recorded as a sack. It's second and a long 10. Over the middle, complete for short yardage at the 45. And Joe Rose pays the price as Mel and Crable make the hit.
That's the kind of play that when you sit down with your quarterback on Monday, you say, please don't throw me any more like that one. He stretched him out right into the defense, and Rose really took some whacks. Lucky to hang on to the football.
Dan Marino, one touchdown. That was the opening score of the game, a 66-yard pass play to veteran Nat Moore. Duper left, Moore right. On 3rd and 7. Jets to Duper, but again, Marino just pinpointing that through the Jets defense and with plenty on it.
Shula shaking his head. Marino not yet able to read the defenses as well as he has, or as well as he'll be able to, but so strong that he can wait for the receiver to break and come open and still get the football to him. Face mask there by one of the Jet defenders, not detected by the officials. Head snapping around. Jets lucky they didn't get a call there.
Roby has had one block that does not figure in those statistics. Davlin Mullen is back deep. Oh, there's the Roby kick.
Clip.
Mullen tackled immediately at the 15-yard line. And when Roby, in the lexicon of the game, when he hangs one up there, he really lets it hang. It seems like it's never going to come down. That was 39 yards, and there is a penalty on the play against Miami, ineligible man downfield, so they'll have to do it over again.
Well, there was an obvious clip on the play, too. That might be what they call the flag thrown extremely late. You could see the clip from here, Dick, and I wondered why it wasn't called. Flag came in late. Maybe they did call it. Penalty is going to go against the Jets. Jets already pinned down on this one. Well, wait a minute.
I think they're going to be nullifying penalties.
Yeah, they go back and kick it again then.
Whoops. This way.
Well,
76, illegal man downfield on the kicking time. Illegal block on the return.
That
On
was
the
the
receiving team. We will
there,
play that over.
Rusty Gilboa on the clip, and the punter Reggie Roby gets another chance to kick it away.
From the rim of Shea Stadium, 60,000 on a magnificent fall afternoon. Roby will try it again. Mullen, fair catch. Takes a little Miami bounce down to the 17-yard line. So the Jets trailing 20-7 have the football for the first time in the second half. 39-yard kick and no return. It's brought to you by Chevrolet, official U.S. cars and trucks of the 14th Olympic Winter Games. Chevrolet and you taking charge. By Kmart, K-Care Auto Centers, with our promise of service, value, and satisfaction, we've got it good. And by Southern Pacific, 41,000 people working in 18 industries all across America. Dick Enberg, Merlin Olsen at Shea Stadium. Early in the third quarter, Jets first possession. They trail Miami 20-7. Ball at the 17. Dwayne Crutchfield to the 21-yard line. Checking other action in the NFL in the first half of play today. San Francisco narrowing New Orleans' advantage to 13-12 in the third quarter on a field goal by Wershing, his third of the game. New England has kicked the field goal. Stein for 22 yards, 21-13 San Diego. Crutchfield again. He's hauled down on a solid tackle. Number 59, Bob Brudzinski, always tough against the run, a former All-American at Ohio State.
Two big plays by Brudzinski. Of course, Bill Arnsparger, defensive coordinator, Miami Dolphins, Shula's assistant head coach for so long, has really had his hands full today with all the injuries, has been forced to play a four-man line, has probably had to throw out 80 to 90% of his game plan. He's got Mike Kozlowski in there. Kozlowski been forced into a linebacking position as a normal defensive back.
Third down and 4. And Todd is down at the 12-yard line. Charles Bowser, second-year linebacker from Duke, number 56 with the sack, and the Jets will have to kick. We're going to send it to NFL 83.
Thank you, Dick Enberg. Nice to have it. In Minnesota, Gifford Nielsen for Houston. He'll find Chris Dressel, a rookie from Stanford who caught him from Elway last year, goes 35 yards, and Benny Ricardo missed his first field goal, so Houston's within 6. Back to you, Dick.
Yeah, the Oilers with a new coach looking for their first win in 2 seasons. Ramsey from his own end zone. Low kick. Clayton comes up to the 48 of the Jets. Almost got through the entire Jet wall. He's to the 36-yard line on a short 35-yard punt and a gamey 12-yard return by Clayton.
No hang time on this punt. Gives the receiver a chance to do something with it. And Clayton showing us some great courage as he sifted his way through. Watch him just duck his head and explode for a find. But a lot of this is going to depend on what Mr. Robbie does down there. Whether they get that new stadium lined out, whether they sign their players and get them in, and whether they're willing to pay Shula.
Kelly told us yesterday he's never been happier. He still has a great love for this game and energy for it. Dan Marino way off the mark, looking for Mark Clayton, number 83. Bobby Jackson thought he had a chance at an interception, and he may have injured that hand of his. No, it's an ankle.
It looked like he banged a leg as he tried to go up for that football, but that ball thrown away, I think. Marino deciding to unload it. And certainly either that or just got away from him. Nowhere near the receiver.
Let's pause briefly for station identification from New York. This is the NBC Television Network. Merlin Olsen, Dick Enberg at Shea Stadium, New York. Third quarter, Dan Marino of Miami trying to hit Tony Nathan, but under pressure from Mark Gastineau and Joe Klecko. Marino offline on his throw. The Dolphins using 4 first-half interceptions, 1 for a touchdown on a deflection to linebacker or defensive end Kim Bokamper. Lead 20-7. It's Miami's ball, 3rd and 10 at the Jets' 36-yard line with 9:35 left in the third quarter.
I'm a little surprised that Shula is still throwing the football here. I would have thought with that kind of lead that he might be trying to eat some up on the ground, establish some control on that football.
Over the middle, complete. Duriel Harris to the 20-yard line. Well, he's been in Shula's doghouse, but that'll help him claw his way out. It's a first down on a 16-yard play, and Marino led him perfectly.
Duriel has been in Shula's doghouse. A chance for you to watch Duriel Harris coming in from the outside. Now here's Duriel way out on the outside. Watch him as he'll start inside, drift across. You get a chance to see him in action here. Whoops, we had him spotted in the wrong place. He was on the inside. There he is, right there. Got him one slot too far out, but Harris did a good job of breaking clear on that.
You weren't the only man who didn't cover him.
That's right.
It's first down at the 20. And nothing there for Andre Franklin. The Jets indeed have stopped Franklin and Miami's running game inside. That was Bob Crable, 50, the linebacker from Notre Dame, making the first hit. Now Ray Wersching has 5 field goals today for the San Francisco 49ers. The NFL record is 7. Wersching has accounted for all 15 points for the 49ers, who now lead New Orleans 15-13.
That's getting them the hard way, isn't it, Dick?
Oh, and Buffalo, Joe Ferguson, 3 touchdown passes now, and it's Buffalo 21, Baltimore 7. Second quarter. Jim Jensen is in at wide receiver. This is David Overstreet inside the 20 to about the 17. A gain of 3, bringing up 3rd and 7. Greg Buttle with a tackle. Buffalo, Ferguson had that big game against Miami last week, comes right back with 3 touchdown passes first half today.
Talking to the Miami defense, they were terribly impressed. They said that Ferguson threw some passes last week that were so perfect that even with receivers covered, there was no way that they could keep them from pulling them down. And certainly appears to be back on track again this week.
Tampa Bay making a comeback, have cut into St. Louis's lead. The Cardinals 27-20 against the Bucks. 3rd and 7 for Marino. And he threw that one away. Looking for Clayton, who was well blanketed by Bobby Jackson. Here comes Uwe von Schamann. Von Schamann had kicked 6 in a row, and then has not made a field goal in the last 4.5 games, including today. He's missed his last 5. He missed, for him, a relatively easy 37-yarder wide to the right, his only attempt today, and he's also had an extra point block. So he has to be thinking. There's no wind to worry about. That flag is still in the direction in which he's kicking. This one will be 35 yards. And that'll make everyone in Miami feel better, but most of all, number 5.
You see him taking congratulations from some of his teammates. Believe me, you want that field goal kicker to be in good spirits. You want him to have his head on straight. Von Schaman puts it between the uprights.
And to beat out Gerald Yepremian for the Dolphins' place kicking chores, Uwe Von Schaman. Better than a 2-touchdown lead. Field goal by Von Schaman makes it 23-7, and Von Schaman kicking deep. Preston Brown up to the 5, 15, 25, and down at the 27-yard line. Tackle made by Robert Sowell, rookie from Howard University. 22-yard return. There's Ken O'Brien. He was a #1 draft pick. First selection for the New York Jets. One of 6 quarterbacks taken in the first round in the last draft. And O'Brien was selected, as you can see. This is in order. Elway, Blackledge, Kelly will play in the USFL. Eason, O'Brien, and then Marino. Marino, the 6th quarterback selected. And Miami may have gotten the best of the lot. Shula would argue that point for you at this stage.
Shula may not have to do that.
Wesley Walker right through his mitts. Incomplete.
Todd's numbers do not reflect the number of drop balls that he's had, and he's had quite a few. He had a lot of them in Cleveland last week, and Wesley Walker, not the kind of receiver who will normally drop that kind of pass. But I think what happens in a game where you get behind, everybody wants to start to do a little too much. I think Walker probably thinking, can I get this ball and go for a big gain or running it, instead of getting the ball in his hands and then taking off.
Todd with only a 36% completion mark today. 2nd and 10. That's going to be intercepted. Gerald Small, and he laterals. This is Blackwood, Lyle Blackwood. This looks like a California play. What if Joe Kapp designed that? And finally down at the 27 by Mike Augustiniak. Todd royally booed off the field. That was his 5th pass intercepted today.
And that number 5, a black number for Richard Todd. That's the same number of interceptions that Miami forced him into in the playoff game last year. 5 big interceptions. A chance to look from high up on top of the stadium. And Todd expecting the receiver to drive inside. Instead, it's Gerald Small, number 48, who slips inside, takes it easily, and then drops it back to Lyle Blackwood right there.
And the fans trying to help the Jets defense. Marino takes over at the New York 27. And they don't get much with the power game to the 26 goes on for Franklin. Is Walton going to make a change? Shula has made changes, not only in this game, but in the last several years. Will Walton change?
Well, he's going to have to think about it. With Richard Todd having this kind of day, I don't think his history would not indicate it. I think he'll stay with Todd and expect Todd to pull himself out of this slump and get back on track.
Backup quarterback Ryan is warming up on the far side. 2nd and 9. Marino going deep. Touchdown! No, he did not come down with the ball. He had it, but did not get both feet down. Mark Clayton on a perfect throw by Marino, and doesn't that impress you? Here's a guy with a rifle arm, and then he floats one out there perfectly as well.
Clayton at the top of your screen. Now Marino had that ball in the air just after the break. Watch it here as he goes up. He has the football. He's got to come down with both feet, and with control of that football, the official right there on top said no way. Hard for us to see from here.
It was screened. Apparently he was juggling the ball, did not have it in his grasp, because it appeared otherwise that might have been a score. Jackson, enough pressure to deny the score.
Boy, that's hard though when they're throwing a timing pattern like that, and it's well thrown. Even Dick, even if Ryan were to come into this game, I think again next week you'd see Todd back back to be the quarterback for the Jets.
Here's Marino looking over the defense and showing that he has not only the strength but the touch.
That's a finesse pass, and he put it right on the mark.
Can't throw it any better than that. That takes home all the Cupid dolls. Watch out on the carnival if you see Dan Marino strolling down the avenue. We have a timeout. 6:05 left in the third quarter. Tennessee, Pat Ryan, you see very little NFL game experience. He's not thrown a pass this year. Is he about to come in?
Well, it would appear that someone has been talking to him, telling him to warm up.
Didn't play last year in the strike-shortened season. Has not played it down this year. Meanwhile, Miami trying to add to its 23-7 lead. This is 3rd down and 9. Marino has a man. Duriel Harris out of bounds at the 4-yard line. And again, Marino, tremendous accuracy. Sounding like his PR agent, but I haven't seen a young man play any better than Marino has today in a long time.
Interesting, he throws this football off his back foot, kind of off balance. Look how he throws, kind of dropping back on that. Look how he's kind of sliding back with the pressure. Still strong enough to put that football right on target. Gets it into the hands of Duriel Harris on the sideline.
So Harris with a couple of key catches here in the third quarter, and with less than 6 minutes left, Miami in position. They score here.
They may be able to put it out of reach.
Yep. Then it doesn't matter quite so much. That's when you can bring in your backup quarterback. Well, that's one thing the Jets have done very well today. They have stopped the Miami running game cold. Woody Bennett gets little, if nothing, might have lost a yard. Lance Mel in on the tackle. Boyce Green has just scored for Cleveland to cut Pittsburgh's lead to 34-17. Dwight Hicks of the 49ers, a 62-yard interception for a touchdown. And San Francisco opens a 22-13 lead at New Orleans. Gary Danielson to Ulysses Norris for the Lions, and Detroit leads Chicago 24-10. It appears the Lions starting to put things back together. Here it's 23-7 Miami. 2nd and goal. Marino, touchdown, another great throw, this time to Dan Johnson, the tight end. His 3rd touchdown catch of the year, and Marino has been flawless.
And you begin to feel the frustration of the Jets. Darrell Ray, number 28, after the play was over, absolutely kicking the end marker out of its place on the ground. Let's take another close look at Marino. Again, throwing off balance and throwing on the way back. That'll get him in trouble eventually. And Darrell Ray, we didn't see him there, just walked over and kicked that marker right up out of the ground. Dan Johnson, a better blocker than a receiver, but certainly did a good job on that play.
Von Chamin's try for point out of Strock's hold is good. So Dan Marino, his first NFL start last week, Buffalo, 3 touchdown passes. He comes back at New York, his first start on the road in the NFL. He has 3 more touchdown scores and no interceptions. Yeah, he's just like somebody reflecting the mood of some of the Jets fans about that change of venue. Meanwhile, it's all Miami. 30-7. Brown to the 11-yard line, maybe the 12. Well covered. The rookie Soul has another tackle, and we have a flag down. Here's a sampling of some of the reaction to the Jets move away from New York to New Jersey. As you see the signal holding.
We're trying to see whether they've made a quarterbacking change. They have indeed.
And you hear the cheer, the hysterectomy. Yes, the removal of his team to another place.
Well, Joe Walton has perhaps removed his quarterback, so he won't have to suffer anymore today. Game virtually out of reach for the Jets at this point. And sometimes, Dick, a change of quarterbacks can get a team fired and also lead to a little lapse on the defensive side.
Ryan, an 11th round draft pick by the Jets in '78 out of the University of Tennessee. Comes out throwing from his own end zone, and he hits Jerome Barkham. 12-yard line. Barkham down immediately by Rodell Thomas.
I think think perhaps the bitterest pill for Walton and for these Jets to handle in today's game is that they're dealing with a wounded defense. Bill Arnsparger's defense, with all the linebacking problems, they've had to go to a four-man front. They've had to play a defensive back and linebacker, and yet the Jets offense has really stopped itself repeatedly during the day.
Harper and Durking in the pattern. And again, it's Barkham right over the middle, out to the 17-yard line. A couple of safe passes to his tight end. And that'll be good for a first down. Pittsburgh still leading Cleveland 34-17 as they battle for first place. San Francisco opens its lead at New Orleans now in the fourth quarter. San Diego, same score as halftime, third quarter at New England. Minnesota hanging on to a 6-point lead against Houston in the third. Detroit opens to 24-10 against the Bears in Pontiac. St. Louis 27-20 against Tampa Bay in the fourth quarter. Buffalo a 21-7 lead. That's for first place in the AFC East. Ryan hit and fights back to the 15-yard line. But the sack, Mike Charles, a second-round draft pick from Syracuse, 6'4", 283, the heaviest man on this Miami team.
Fourth sack of the day. Brzezinski, the man who initially missed him, they're blitzing from the outside. Brzezinski goes through and literally spins Ryan around. Ryan gets away from that one, but does not get away from big Mike Charles.
Second and 13.
Ball at the 15, so it'll be second down 13. It was 7-all after the first quarter, and it's been all Miami since. Bruce Harper, not much running room, gets across the 20-yard line. Brzezinski was there along with Betters and Kozlowski. Those of you who weren't with us earlier, the reason why Bill Arnsparger and Shula have had to work some miracles defensively today, they came very shy of healthy linebackers, and right off the bat in the first quarter lost one of their better players, A.J. Douay. And then one of the rookie replacements, Emmett Tilley, was injured. Mark Brown was already hurt, couldn't play. That left Miami with only 3 linebackers, so he's had to go to a whole new defensive set.
He's got Kozlowski in there, an outside linebacker now.
And he's blitzing on this play. Harper incomplete. Well covered by Brzezinski. So that brings up fourth down and the punting team in for the Jets.
Dick, I think it's worth noting that one of the reasons that Shula and his staff have been so successful over the years is their ability to adjust to different personnel, the different team strengths. And certainly they have proved it again today as they've adjusted to real problems defensively and still managed to hammer on the Jets.
I was going to ask you, why is Shula so successful? Obviously, that's one of the reasons.
That's part of it right there. I've got some more thoughts on that.
Ramsey's kick. Dying spiral, fair catch. Kozlowski at the Miami 46. The Dolphins have the lead and good field position again. All right, we're not going to take a commercial here with 2:33 left in the third quarter. What are some of the other reasons that Shula has dominated?
He's been able to do something very special, and that is to maintain his credibility with his players over a long period of time. Don Shula has a great deal of integrity, and it's obvious to the people he deals with that he will be honest with them, he'll be straightforward with them, but he expects a great deal out of them. And you can see his winning percentage, which is .695, almost 70%, #1 of active coaches, and he's a couple of games behind Landry in the actual wins in lifetime total.
There's a fumble, and the Jets have the football. A missed handoff, and there's the first mistake by Marino. One was fumbling the ball, and second was to try to go in and fight for it, and he got pushed out of there in a hurry. Joe Klecko pounced on the ball, and the Jets get their first break of the game.
Klecko's 30th birthday yesterday. This is a late present. He would like to have had this a couple of hours ago in the early going in this game. Klecko in very, very quickly, actually disrupted that handoff, and then able to get back and put himself on top of that football. Good play. Let's see if perhaps Ryan and the Jets offense can get something going. They've been asleep most of the day.
Well, this is the first time they've started a possession other than that blocked punt on the Miami half of the field. Dolphins in control. The Jets with a chance to at least get the fans back in the game. Gaffney in motion. Marion Barber and the former University of Minnesota star yards. He has the Golden Gopher career rushing record over 3,000 yards. Marion Barber had not carried the football this year.
That's his first time out. Not a bad average, 10 yards a carry.
They mark it as a first down for Barber. He's 6'3" and 224. Good
Barber
blocking.
breaking to the outside, almost lost his footing. That area has been sodded, as we'd indicated before, pulling a couple of defenders with him as he lunges for the first down.
From the 33. Good throw and a good catch by Lamb Jones. His feet had slipped and he actually caught that ball falling down in front of Judson. Checking a score, Minnesota, Ted Brown, a 4-yard run, and the Vikings lead 27-14 early in the fourth quarter.
Lamb Jones has never really lived up to the kind of promise he came with. Great speed, but does not have the real tenacity, the courage you like to see in your receivers going inside. But let's give him credit. A good job of handling that football, his feet out from underneath him. 2nd and 1.
1 minute left, third quarter. Bruce Harper, and he is out of bounds with a first down at the Miami 20. Well, you talk about Lamb Jones, Merlin. You could put together a pretty good NFL sprint relay team. Mark Duper was a world-class sprinter. Of course, Lamb Jones, a gold medal winner in '76 on the sprint relay. I'd say, well, you could put Ronaldo Nehemiah, the San Francisco 49ers.
He can run.
Also on that team. Got two right here, and Duper and Lamb Jones. And, oh, well, how about Willie Gault? He has to run that leg on the backside. He showed you can do that.
Gault wouldn't do a bad
That'd be
job.
a pretty good team.
I wouldn't want to try and catch him.
Ryan, good throw. Wesley Walker. No, Ryan has used the short pass effectively. And the Jets continue their march to the Miami 11.
Interesting thought. First catch of the day for Wesley Walker. And, of course, that's one of the bad stats for the Jets. But a well thrown football thrown in the area where it could not be intercepted. Walker breaks to the outside. Let's see if Ryan will go back to the pass on 2nd and short.
2nd and 1. Now he goes to the first down carry by Augustiniak, who is inside the 10. 1st and goal for the New York Jets. They got a big 9 yards to go for the touchdown, and the clock is running. That probably will be the last play of the quarter.
Dick, you asked me about pressure of playing in a town like New York. And one of the pressures, a coach is not free to make decisions without a great deal of scrutiny. Now let's assume that Ryan continues to play the way he's playing now, has a good day. What happens this next week? All the questions. Well, who plays? You're going to start Ryan? You're going to go back to Todd. Tremendous amount of pressure on a coach. Not necessarily true in a small town, but certainly here you've got that pressure.
And that is the end of the third quarter with Miami in front 30-7. We'll be right back after these minutes. Fourth quarter. Shea Stadium. Today's game brought to you by Jeep Cherokee and Jeep Wagoneer. When it comes to four-wheel drive, one word says it all, Jeep. By Anheuser-Busch St. Louis, Brewers of Michelob. Some things speak for themselves. And by RCA, maker of innovative video products that will open your eyes. In relief of starting quarterback Richard Todd, Pat Ryan. He's the story here in New York as he's trying to rally the Jets from a huge deficit. Miami owns a 30-7 lead as we open the fourth quarter. 1st and goal for the Jets at the Miami 9. Crutchfield, no handoff, and it's a screen to Schuler, and that's going to be a touchdown.
A little throwback screen. Ryan running to his right, pulling the defense with him. And Joe Fields, the center, number 65, will just wait and then drift out on the backside. He's the blocker for Mickey Schuler coming in at the bottom of your picture.
And the kick is good by Pat Leahy. So Pat Ryan, after the fumble recovery by Joe Klecko, is able to take the Jets 43 yards in 6 plays to cut the lead to 30-14.
Now you didn't see the block. You'll see it here. Number 65, bottom of your screen. right there, you saw the result of it as he knocked Bowser, 56, off his field.
Out of the fourth quarter, only 8 seconds expired in this fourth period. Miami's lead is now at 30-14. Leahy kicking off, Fulton Walker, and they do not use the onside kick. Walker at the 4, the 15, the 20. Oh, what a nice move by Walker, and he's still on his feet, and now he can really go. 45, 50. He's got blockers. And Fulton Walker finally stumbles down and then fumbles, and Miami recovers. Might be the best kickoff man in the NFL, Fulton Walker. He's had a couple of long returns today, and it was his own superb running, a couple of cuts and a hurdle that broke him free.
From way on top of the stadium, a chance to watch Walker as he drifts into the right side, and watch the tackle he breaks right here. He's going to be trapped. It will look like he's going down. He simply refuses to lose his feet, gets away from the block or the tackle by Barber right there. He's in the middle of a convoy. He's got a half a dozen blockers. Now he's trying to stay with the blockers. Joe Rose right there, number 81 of them, finally got him out of bounds.
I think he almost had too many blockers. They got in his way. Franklin dragged down by Darrell Ray, number 28. That was a 78-yard kickoff return by Fulton Walker. And just as the Jets buy a little momentum, Walker comes right back to spin them.
Joe Gardy, instructions from the defensive coordinator: get the football, turnover time, tackle of football, force the interception. We got to have the football.
Now in the shadows of that closed end of Shea Stadium, Miami, 2nd and 10. Fred Steinfort has just kicked the field goal for New England, and New England pulls to within 21-16 of San Diego. Marino. Tony Nathan near a first down before Bob Crable can make the tackle. And at halftime, the Buffalo Bills lead 24-7. They got a field goal from Danilo, 23 yards just before the gun. So the Bills, young Kay Stevenson, the head coach of Buffalo, he's done very quietly a terrific job in his initial year replacing Chuck Knox. Marino, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, 226 yards passing, 3rd and 1 at the Jet 8-yard line. See Roy Foster,
Shula calling timeout. Not happy with the call or with the defense or the personnel. He said, we'll take the timeout rather than make a mistake here.
He doesn't miss much, does he?
No, he doesn't.
The Don of Miami, Grandpa Schuler, son David, assistant coach, presenting him with his first grandchild here. Miami ready to move from the Jet 8-yard line on 3rd down and 1. You didn't tell us about Don Shula. He was kidding you about a sucker play yesterday at practice. He said, Merlin, want us to run the sucker play?
Well, they loved to run that play on me when we used to play Baltimore head-to-head, and they would pull the guard, and I would follow the guard. They'd run the back naked in there. They did love that play.
See Richard Todd benched here in the second half. 3rd and 1. Airborne Tony Nathan for the first down at the 6-yard line. Now the Jets have been stopping Franklin all day, so the call went to Nathan, and it's 1st and goal Miami.
Don Shula's got John Sandusky, offensive line coach on the sideline, who's been with him for so many years. He used to design those plays for me, and then I'd yell at him on the sideline. There he is with his back to us. They'd run the play and usually make it go for a few yards. They'd run it once a game just to keep me honest, and then I'd yell at him on the sideline, let him know I appreciated him.
Not many times you were suckered. In fact, it's a compliment. They knew that you could read it so well that you'd go for the obvious, and they tried to run it in behind you. Franklin, whoa, nothing but green jerseys for Andre Franklin. Oh, he's just been held almost to nothing today, Andre Franklin. 10 carries, 6 yards.
The numbers against the Jet defense are impressive for Miami today, but the Jets defense has played with a great deal of emotion. They have been swarming, and they have been hitting on the field. I think certainly a case of Miami doing a lot of things well rather than a poor Jet defense.
Steelers with a field goal, lead 37-17. Apparently the Browns will continue to go empty away from Three Rivers Stadium. Marino first row. Ken Schroy was the cover. It appeared that the receiver stumbled Bruce Hardy leaving the line of scrimmage.
Marino getting into what appears to be a bad habit of throwing in a retreating mode. And I think I'm sure that Shula and the offensive coordinators, offensive team will get together with him and say, wait a minute, we want you to stand in there and not be dropping back as you're throwing that football. Hard to throw accurately when you're leaning back or taking your momentum away from the football, although he's been able to do that a couple of times today.
See Roy Foster, 61, but he actually is an eligible receiver. He's playing the right end position. And for blocking, obviously. Inside handoff. Woody Bennett. And they say he did not get in. He stopped just shy of the goal line. Lance Bell made the saving tackle. Good call. Little trap inside.
I'm sure that the defense was expecting a pass or a big play outside. Miami going right up the gut, able to get good yardage. I think the defense was stunning to the outside. Plecko and Gastineau, and you see the shoulder down, the ball down just shy of the goal line.
And on 4th and goal, Shula, obviously with the lead, 30-14, will go for it.
Shula had been 4 for 4 going for it on 4th down. He did not make it. Watch the surge by the Jets defense as they break it up and stop him just short of the goal line.
So the Jets trailing 30-14 give theirs to Miami on the 1-foot line on 4th down, and the Jets take over inside their 1. With the 2 points as Ryan fumbled the snap from center. So often a play that plagues the new quarterback in the exchange from center, and now Miami gets 2 instead of 7 and will get the ball back. It's 32-14.
Walton's got to be shaking his head. Ryan looking back, wanted to hand off to Crutchfield, simply couldn't keep his hands on that football. It dropped away right there, and you're absolutely right, just did not stay in long enough under the center. And again, when you haven't taken a single snap in a game during the season, you have to expect some of that kind of problems.
Now the Jets, after an outstanding defensive stand, 4th and goal on the 1-foot line, they get the ball back, and then just as quickly all that emotion is lost as a safety and have to give up the ball. And it's been a long afternoon for 47-year-old Joe Walton, and that young man, the youngest on the Miami team, 21-year-old Mike Charles. It looks as if the Dolphins not only have a good pick in Marino, but their 2nd-round choice Charles has played well.
And you got to wonder, as well as they've done with a 4-3 defense today, will they come back to a 4-3 next week?
Well, meanwhile, we've got an upset brewing at New England as the Patriots, who have trailed the entire game and is by as much as 21-10, have gone ahead. Mark Van Egan, a 1-yard run with 10 minutes left in the game. Patriots 23, Chargers 21, and St. Louis has scored on a Randy Love run to make it 34-20 against Tampa Bay. That's with just a minute left at Tampa Bay, so it appears the Buccaneers will be without a win. Ramsey's punt is short at the 40-yard line, and Kozlowski is tackled immediately. So number 40, Kozlowski at the 40, and Dolphins have the ball.
Well, Dick, certainly Joe Walton and the Jets are having trouble beating the Miami Dolphins, but they're not the only trouble. They're not the only team that has trouble beating Shula and these Miami Dolphins. And just a question for our fans, and well, there it is right there. How many teams have never how many teams the Miami Dolphins have never lost to? Now look at that list.
It's amazing.
And there was another team on that list until just earlier in the year. New Orleans won their first game against Miami just earlier this season. You wouldn't believe that there would be that many teams in the league that have never defeated the Miami Dolphins.
First down, Dolphins. They lead 32-14. get that handoff to Tony Nathan, and it's a lost place. Buffalo leading 24-7 at Baltimore at the half. The winner here stays in the race. The loser drops 2 full games behind either Buffalo or Baltimore. Quick hitter out to the 42-yard line. Lance Mel drags down Franklin.
Dick, we showed the stat on the teams that have never beaten Miami, and they have beaten every team in the NFL. Now the Jets have an interesting stat, teams that they have never beaten. And if you look down that list, you'll see 2 teams that they have yet to play this season, Pittsburgh and San Francisco. So not only is that a stat that they would like to see change, but 2 of those teams on this year's schedule yet to be played by these Jets.
We'll be seeing those games here on NBC, and of course the Jets, should they lose today, 3-4, and they've got some tough teams ahead. David Overstreet down at the 42, no gain. Mel with a tackle. Clock continues to run, 9:20 left, and Miami will have to give up the ball. Speaking of San Francisco, Ray Wersching has just kicked his 6th field goal. That's 1 short of Jim Bakken's all-time NFL single-game record. Wersching makes it 25-13. San Francisco with 2.5 minutes left in the game at New Orleans.
They might as well pull out the stops and go for a block here. They got one of Roby's kicks early. Let's see if they're going again. They are.
Oh, does he hammer that one? Mullen at his own 3. And he's down at the 11-yard line. Oh, that ball just rockets off the foot of Roby. Eddie Hill made the tackle. 55-yard punt. A 9-yard return. Miami of work. There's Marty Lyons with Pleco, and yeah, you look at that scoreboard, and it's depressing news. Gastineau and Neal, the other half of the Jets' front 4. In case you join us late, Richard Todd's interceptions, 4 of those in the first half, really turned the game around. St. Louis has beaten Tampa Bay 34-27, so Tampa Bay 0-7, St. Louis 2-5. Down the middle to Lamb Jones, incomplete at the 30, and as you pointed out earlier, Merlin Olsen, that's the pass that Jones has just not been able to pull in very often. Over the middle.
He is not big and strong, sprinter's build, and I don't blame him for not wanting to go in there. It takes a special kind of temperament for the receivers to go down and slide inside and go up for that football knowing that they're going to be blasted. I don't blame a man for not doing it, but it certainly takes that to be effective as a wide receiver.
32-14. I guess you said that about as kindly as you can. Bruce Harper. And jitterbugging along the sidelines, and the music finally stops as Paul Langford, number 44. We talked about outstanding track and field athletes. Langford was a top-notch 400-meter hurdle man at Penn State. He's 6'1", 182, picked in the 3rd round last year by the Dolphins.
Dolphins have now gone back to a 3-man line. Kozlowski, as we said, their emergency linebacker, in there calling defenses and playing in a linebacker position.
But not worried so much about the run here. That gives them an extra man to cover the pass, and it figures that's what the Jets will do. Ryan, good numbers, 7 for 9. Pull that one in at the 31-yard line. Brzezinski with a tackle, short of the first down by about a yard.
Give him a chance to take a little bow here as he dips in and catches one on the inside. Kim Bocamper had gone back to had started in from his defensive end position and dropped back into a linebacking position on that play. Lamb Jones certainly showing us on that play. He must have been listening. Hey, I can go in there and catch the ball. He did.
2nd down and 1. Ryan, his receiver, covered initially, and then he can't quite find Harper, and maybe the Kozlowski, or why he hasn't gone to Paul McDonald.
Well, that certainly does, and we saw Sipe last week and saw some of the great passes he threw against these Jets as they came out on top, 10-7. Certainly a frustrating business being a quarterback. We've got a timeout on the field, Dick. For Don Shula, the kind of day he would love to have every Sunday. Things have gone well.
This is how the standings looked prior to today's play. Baltimore losing to Buffalo 24-7 at the half. Now, if Miami should win, they'll stay within a game of the lead. The loser, as we pointed out several times, drops 2 games back. And it's not just being 2 games out of first place. You hate to get too many teams in front of you. You got to leapfrog over too many to get to first place.
Well, that's 2 games in division, 2 losses in division, too.
Durking vaulting forward across the 35 for the first down. Of course, Miami will give the Jets all the short yardage they want and just let the clock go. Halfway through this 4th quarter, 7.5 minutes left. That's the score as Buffalo and Baltimore open the 3rd quarter. Of course, they start 1 hour behind this game. San Francisco, that was a close game at one time. 32-13, Wendell Tyler, your former teammate of the Rams, 34-yard run. He's back and healthy, and with 1:28 left, it appears the 49ers have their 5th win.
Back much before he was expected, too. They expected him to be out 6 weeks.
Ryan going long, and Gerald Small has his 2nd interception. So 5 interceptions by the 2 Miami cornerbacks. Judson with 3 and Small with 2.
Well, Len Berman indicated that Seif and Cleveland had an edge with 6. The Jets come right back and even it up.
Well, it's not quite enough arm by Ryan, and that was Todd's problem in the first half.
Well, and it's a frustrating situation. The Miami defense can afford to play deep. They'll give you the completion underneath. They're all back there 15, 20 yards to start out with. Gerald Small made it look easy.
Wesley Walker has made more tackles today than he's caught passes. That's not a good statistic, because 3 of those interceptions came with Walker deep, and he had to see someone grab it and then make the tackle.
And people beginning to bail out here as Marino gets another chance to put some statistics together offensively.
Meanwhile, Tony Collins has scored for New England. It appears the Patriots are going to knock off San Diego. It's 30-21 with just 2:23 left up at Foxborough. That'd be a big win for New England, pulling them 3-4 and knocking San Diego down to 3-4.
And how many of the experts were willing to bank on these 2 teams, the Jets and San Diego, at the beginning of the year? Certainly we expected them to perform much better than they have.
And after 7 games for the 2 of them to have losing records. 6:15 left in the 4th quarter. Dan Marino handing off to Overstreet. He's dragged down nicely by Gastineau after Klecko slowed him down. Well, we have lots of scores and highlights. Let's catch this latest development, NFL 83.
All right, Dick, you just mentioned it. Here's the Tony Collins touchdown. Remember opening day, Jets in San Diego? Was it a preview of the AFC Championship game? They are both now 3-4 if the scores hold up. All the scores and highlights after the game. Back to you, Dick.
All right, Lance, so stay tuned. Have all the finals for you right at the conclusion of this game. We'll go to NFL 83 headquarters. Pat Ryan looks on as Dan Marino sets his line at the Miami 20, 3rd down and 12. Overstreet picking his way for short yardage. You know, you're looking back at some old notes, Merlin. Remember the Orange Bowl game we did? I think it was 79-80. Was Oklahoma, Nebraska. The starting Oklahoma backfield in that game had David Overstreet, Billy Sims, and Kenny King were the running backs behind Ronnie Lott. Del Rey of the Jets was a safety man. But what a great team that was. Roberts was an All-American guard. Victor Hicks
Greg
was played.
Roberts, yes. Victor Hicks played tight end out in L.A.
Tabor
for a while.
boys.
You bet.
What a team.
They have put a few people into the NFL from Oklahoma.
Roby, well, he's got the whole field to kick to. Let's see if he can really root one out of there. He's fun to watch.
Ooh. That went almost to the top of the stadium.
That's the infield fly roll at the 30-yard line. He really hit a pop fly, 47 yards, and no way you're going to return that one.
I don't want to be down there waiting for that thing to come down either, Dick.
And we watched yesterday, even the Miami players had trouble fielding his kicks because they do some crazy things. Now here, hardly crazy when you talk about $360,000 involved. Nicholas Watson, Palmer, and Player. They're going to do. They're going to play 6 holes are worth $10,000. Then the next 6, $20,000. Final 6, $30,000. If players tie in a hole, which should happen several times, then the money goes to the next hole. That's going to be the 26th and 27th Thanksgiving weekend here on NBC. Well, that sounds like something Don Ohlmeyer would think of. We pause briefly for station identification. This is the NBC television network.
This is South Florida 7, WSVN, Miami, Fort Lauderdale.
Now Scott Durking takes it out to the 36-yard line. Dick Enberg, Merlin Olsen, Shea Stadium in New York, almost half empty at this moment as fans have gone home, acknowledging the fact that it will be Miami that wins today. 32-14 Dolphins. Pat Ryan subbing for Richard Todd to Harper. He's to the 45-yard line. Put yourself, Merlin, in Coach Joe Walton's shoes tomorrow. Tomorrow's got to be the toughest day in sport if you're a football coach that is lost on Sunday. As Ryan without a huddle. Oh, almost intercepted. Walker broke up the interception. That was headed right to a Dolphin when Walker got a fill on it.
If Dick, I can almost get on that sideline. I've been in losing games like this, and I've been with teams that were expected to win and could not win. One of the things they have to do, and it's probably the toughest thing, is to put this game behind them. They can't go back and replay it. They'll look at the film, they'll see their mistakes, they'll see that they were not as bad today as the score would indicate. They'll see some good things in the game, but the most important thing is that they've got to put it behind them, just as Richard Todd has to put those interceptions behind him.
Ryan to Durking, and he has another first down to the Miami 44, but the short yardage costs you time. They're the policemen we saw at the start of the game. And one thing we must say, there were a lot of ballyhooing about whether or not the fans would really be disruptive and angry about the Jets' move to New Jersey. It's been quite the opposite. There's hardly a ripple of reaction to that. And in fact, the word we get from the Jets front office is that of thousands of calls, they've all been positive. There have only been like 50, 60 calls that have been negative about the move.
Well, I think if you ask the callers to comment on the quality of the Jets football today, there might be a lot of negative calls.
Harper to the 20-yard line on a good throw from Ryan, and with 3:13 and the clock running, Jets will hurry into position, a first down. Kozlowski made the tackle, winding down toward the 3-minute mark, fourth period. Miami leading 32-14. Ryan underneath to Durking. And he's to the 8-yard line. Brzezinski with the stop. Another first down. First and goal.
These last 3 minutes will last a lifetime for Walton, for all of the Jets. They just want to get this game over, get out of here. But certainly for Don Shula and Arnsparger, some concern here. One of the things they don't want to see happen, they can't afford any more injuries to their defense. And they're anxiously watching the defenders on the field, make sure they're all standing after every play.
Ryan looking for a cosmetic score. And that one away from Lamb Jones, who was well covered as Gerald Small took the outside away from the Jets receiver. And Marino, we will leave this game today, Merlin, with one impression, and that is with a lot of stars around that name, Dan Marino. He looks as if he's got a great career ahead of him.
Well, I think he does, Dick, but as a young learning quarterback, he'll have some days that aren't nearly as sparkling as today. But he at least has demonstrated that he can go out and get the job done. He has a strong arm. He's not afraid to put himself at risk. He can run with the football, and he'll get better in terms of reading the defenses.
49ers have first place in the NFC West as they beat New Orleans 32-13. Now the Rams with a chance to tie if they can win later. Fake, reverse, and the throw. Almost an interception for Kozlowski. Better known in his youth as a volleyball player was Kozlowski. In fact, he had a scholarship to college as a volleyball player. Eventually went to Colorado, matriculated there in Boulder, and became an outstanding tailback.
Out of position on that play as a linebacker, was not fooled at all. Red Barber's moved to the outside, out there to cover him, and he went up, spiked that one to the ground.
2-12. Bruce Harper figures that he might be in the thick of this call. Third and goal at the 8. Watch what 42 does. He goes in motion. There he is. Complete at the 1-yard line, short of a and Harper looks as if he's hurt as Glenn Blackwood One of those killer bees. 7 of the 11 defensive starters today for Miami. Their last name starting with bees. That's how that killer bee theme began. And they even have a name now when Miami's killer bees have a sack. They call it beeswax. W-H-A-C-K-S. Beeswax.
Well, Harper takes some wax on this play. He's up and he's moving. Good shot on the back. Glenn Blackwood, number 47. You'll see him soloed on the right side of your screen. Look at him driving in. His job to keep Harper out of the end zone. They're escorting him off the field. He's going to be all right. 4th and 1. You've got to go for it, but not until after the 2-minute warning.
Oh, remember that great 49er combination of quarterback Dave? Well, I guess if you're a Jets player, you won't be so unhappy about it being over. Joe Robbie, he's got some business ahead. He can be happy today with a Miami impressive performance. He's still got to deal with that head man Don Shula, and a job well defined to try to keep him in that Dolphin camp. It's 4th and goal for the Jets at the 2. Ryan doesn't make it, and that symbolizes the Jets' effort today.
Perhaps a fitting ending to an inept performance by the Jets offense in particular. What
and a great
day.
Defense by Miami.
Oh yes, well, certainly considering the problems that they have had defensively, amazing that they have been able to play so effectively. And one of the things that happens, Dick, when you get people hurt, you've got to have great individual performances from your people who are healthy. Miami has indeed gotten those kind of performances today. And one of the things that you hear Jets talking about, it absolutely mystifies them and mystifies us watching from up here. The lack of emotion, the lack of intensity, and there's obvious quality on that Jets bench. There's obvious quality on the field. They have not been able to get performance, and you can only talk about potential for so long. After a while, it becomes a dirty word.
Joe Danilo, 40-yard field goal. Buffalo has scored 27 unanswered points to lead midway through the 3rd quarter at Baltimore. And it's just Marino sitting on the ball. This is going to give us a chance while we have time here, Merlin. What do you think of this idea? That at the end of the game, you can, in this situation, the last 2 minutes, you can't just do the flop down, take it down, and let the clock run. That you must make a conscious effort to advance the ball. Now that was, he took the snap and moved ahead, but not to take the snap when the other team's out of timeouts, just fall down, let the clock run. What do you think of that idea?
I would like to see that. I think it's wrong to allow a team just to sit on the football and wait out the end of a ball game. I think they should have to put it into play.
I agree. There might be, once a year a fumble that would be created that could turn a game around. But and this would be an honest attempt to take a snap and advance the ball, so that would not be a penalty. But if there were to be a change someday, you couldn't just take the snap and then fall backward and have your linemen surround you until someone touched you. I want to thank those who have helped us in the booth: Dan Reagan, John Glasgow, Jim McLaughlin, Ron Zipkowski, Don Farrell, Joe Costanza. Final seconds tick away on a beautiful weather day in New York, and a most disappointing performance by the home team, while Miami will make it 4 in a row. The Dolphins beat the Jets 3 times last year. They only lost 4 times, and apparently the Miami stranglehold will continue this afternoon. New England has scored again, and they lead 37-21 the final seconds. So the Patriots are going to celebrate a big win over San Diego. Don Shula, the Don of Miami, and Joe Walton. They were teammates, cornerbacks. Walton, when he was a rookie, was a cornerback, then switched to his position tight end. Shula was in his last year as the other cornerback with the Redskins in 1957. Small world of football. Dan Marino, welcome to the National Football League. All-American at Pittsburgh. He certainly showed his mettle today.
Had to wait a full week for his first victory. Played well enough last week in the eyes of his coaches to have won on that one, but able to walk off with his head high, and here comes some absolutely dejected people. That man in particular, Richard Todd, threw the ball with great regularity to the men in the white shirts today and paid grievously for that action.
Biggest play probably was Kim Bocamper on that deflection by Betters that went to Bocamper. That turned the game around. It was 7-all at the time in the 2nd quarter, and Bocamper got that gift touchdown to make it 13-7. Then Marino took the Dolphins downfield and scored again.